when something apparently as simple as changing a van's stereo could actually disable expensive safety features of the vehicle, then perhaps it's worth looking at alternatives. Hi, it's Dave T here, and one of the first things we decided to change before we even purchased our Ducato based Adria twin camper van late last year was the stereo head unit. Now, we're not big audiophiles, so the radio and music features, well, they were fine. It was mainly due to its small screen when used as a sat-nav, and well, TomTom's sat-nav wasn't exactly great and would need updating anyway. I also wanted to improve the reversing camera view, but spoiler alert, that's going to be a future update. So the original game plan was to select a replacement 2-din head unit with a larger screen and either built-in or tethered satellite navigation. Now, things didn't quite turn out that way, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So for now, let's talk about satellite navigation in general. Now, we've toured the UK with a caravan for the past 20 odd years, as well as various trips to Europe, including Sweden last year. My Land Cruiser had a pretty good sat-nav built in, but was horrendously difficult and expensive to update, and as soon as it had been, the maps were obviously pretty much instantly out of date. Now, we actually had an issue in Sweden last year where a bridge in Gothenburg had actually just been closed for engineering work, and if we'd been towing, the resulting diversion would have been an absolute mess. So live or frequent updates are really useful to have. But equally, we had no mobile signal in some areas, so having offline maps is also very important. Head units come in two flavours when it comes to satellite navigation. Some have maps built in, whilst others use an app running on your phone or tablet that's tethered to the head unit. The advantage of the built-in sat-nav is that it's tidier and puts less stress on your phone system, such as battery. Meanwhile, the phone-based route offers a wider range of sat-nav apps, including live online maps such as Google. Now, there are of course plenty of dedicated sat-nav units available. The branded units range in price from £100 up to the better part of £800. The price generally relating to screen size and of course features and the extent of the maps. And it's worth pointing out that we could have just plain used a mobile phone on its own. So my initial plan was to swap the head unit, and after a lot of research I settled on the Kenwood DMX 8021 DABS. Now, this was a double-din unit with a 7-inch screen which did not have built-in sat-nav, so would require my phone to be tethered to it. It's available online for about £450 from Dynamic Sounds and other places, plus a fitting kit, which is where this story starts to get interesting. So even if you don't watch all of this video, you may well want to watch this part. Now, I haven't actually fitted a car stereo for quite a few years, but even I was aware that to fit any car stereo, you generally need to purchase a fitting kit. This will typically comprise of a wiring loom adapter to match your vehicle's wiring loom, so the plug basically, to the brand of head unit that you've purchased. And often you'll need a mounting kit with things like a bezel to tidy up the fitting and maybe some brackets for mounting the cage. These kits are typically about £100. Now, when I started looking for mounting kits, there seemed to be a wide variety available from Dynamic Sounds to fit our Ducato-based camper van. So I reached out to their support team and they were very helpful, and they advised me that I'd need a particular unit, which was, wait for it, £320. Yeah, almost as much as the stereo. Now, I figured there had to be a reason for that kind of price difference, so I started to do a bit more research, which is when I found out about the Connects 2 info adapter that is part of that £320 kit. Now, this isn't my area of expertise, but I'll add some background information to explain things as much as I can. CAN bus, as you can see from the acronym on the screen, basically is a networking technology that allows different devices within a vehicle to talk to each other. Now, a modern vehicle has lots of different computer-controlled systems, from the obvious ones like the engine through to subsystems such as the gearbox, lighting, heating, alarm system, and so on. The CAN bus network in your vehicle enables each of those systems to communicate with any of the other devices connected to any of the other systems. So, for example, the alarm can flash the indicators, and for example, the aircon, in theory, could adjust its settings if perhaps a door or a window is open. Now, one of the systems that is connected to the CAN bus is, you've guessed it, the stock stereo head unit, which kind of makes sense since it's got a touch screen, which is a useful means of displaying information, and it's obviously got buttons and touchscreen. So things like configuring vehicle features and settings, it's a great thing to connect into the overall system. Now, removing the stock head unit can and does cause other vehicle systems to start flagging error codes. Now, in the Ducato, this is often indicated by the odometer flashing. The reason for the high price of this particular fitting kit that I required is, I believe, that it resolves these issues by tapping into the CAN bus system with the Connect to info adapter, which proudly boasts on its website that it overcomes the flashing odometer normally found when the original radio is removed. So you're probably thinking that this is the point in the video where I tell you that to upgrade your stereo you will need to spend extra on this particular adapter kit, right? Well, only possibly, because as it turns out, you could still have issues. Now, the kit issues I've covered so far mainly affect Fiat Ducatos with the Uconnect radio system. Other models can have other issues, but generally this kit apparently should work for the majority of model versions. Unless, that is, you have the Fiat Safety Pack, I believe that's the correct term, which uses the screen-mounted camera to read road signs and give you lane diversion warnings. Now, fortunately, I spotted this note on the kit details, which basically said, will not allow retention of OE windscreen camera, which the supplier could not actually fully explain, so I contacted the Connect 2 manufacturer directly. At this point, I have to say that the support engineer at Connect 2 was actually a great guy, definitely nerding out on how the system worked and gave me loads of really interesting information. But in essence, what he told me was that the front-facing camera sends signals over the CAN bus system, which their info adapter could not actually interrogate and relay on, which meant that the camera effectively becomes disabled, possibly also affecting things like braking distance alerts. Now, I've spoken online to other people that have had an issue as well, and one person indicated that they were able to upgrade without an issue. So it may be possible, but it's certainly something you need to bear in mind. So that was it. If I fitted any alternative head unit, I would potentially lose what was, to the original purchaser of the van at least, a £500 safety option, meaning that my planned sat-nav upgrade project was pretty much dead in the water. Or was it? Okay, so after this setback, we had a long think about the options again. Changing the stereo was going to be expensive, with the fittings kit almost doubling the price. And more importantly, it would potentially remove a safety feature of the base vehicle, which can have all sorts of ramifications. I didn't want to purely use my phone due to screen size and battery impact, and wanted something more versatile than a dedicated sat-nav unit, which only really left one real option. Now, this is the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus. It's an 11-inch screen tablet, and I actually picked it up from Argos for £191. I've installed navigation software, which I'll cover in a moment, but basically this would effectively be the same as what the Kenwood system would have run from my phone. At less than half the price of a similar sized dedicated sat-nav, it has the added benefit of serving as a tablet for general use when away. For example, to review routes, go online, research areas, and so on. What it doesn't have is a built-in mounting option. When it comes to mounting a tablet or phone in a Ducato-based van, there is actually often a built-in option. The tablet holder center console is a fold-up kind of clipboard designed for courier drivers, which also has fold-out sprung clamps for holding tablets up to 10-inch screen sizes. Now, with our Galaxy tablet being 11 inches, this would maybe just about fit, but be on the limits. But more importantly, as you can see from this photo, the existing holder is quite bulky, extending higher than the actual tablet. There's also no ability to change the viewing angle in either plane. Now, fortunately, the tablet holder is easy to remove, and when it's removed, it reveals 4 fixing points. After removing the unit, I mocked up a base plate to replicate the original fixing points. Using this, I could then model and 3D print these adapter blocks, which, when screwed to the fixing points, would then give me a flat plane to work from. A simple piece of 6mm ply was then cut to give me a new baseboard. More modelling and 3D printing then gave me this gutter piece, which the tablet's lower edge could sit in. This would not, of course, be sufficient to hold the tablet, so I purchased this U-Green MagSafe arm from Amazon, drilling 2 holes in the base of it so it could be fixed to that baseboard. Another delivery from Amazon was this 12-volt USB-A and USB-C socket. This could have simply been fitted in a 13mm diameter hole pointing vertically, but after a bit more modelling I 3D printed this angled cowling for holding it at a better angle for cable routing. I also took the opportunity to solve another issue I've been pondering for a while, in that I needed to mount a camera for vlogging our trip. So I modelled and 3D printed these rotatable arm brackets, which when combined with this Amazir DJI Osmo magnetic mount gave me two safe positions for the Pocket Osmo 3. Another Amazon delivery with a short right-angled USB-C cable, some fake leather covering, and most importantly an anti-glare screen protector for the tablet, and the mount is basically ready for installation. For power supply, I drilled a hole in the side of the passenger glove box to route the cable from a 12-volt cigarette lighter socket up to the mounting plate. This was a convenient way to complete a tidy-ish installation without directly tapping into any of the vehicle's wiring. So it's now a few weeks later and a different location, as the audio had some issues when I recorded this section the first time. But fortunately, I've also now had a chance to test the setup and draw some initial conclusions. Now, one of the advantages of using a tablet is that it does not limit you to a particular application or service for navigation. For full disclosure, I haven't had the chance to fully test all of the navigation apps I'm about to list, but we have spent the past 8 days travelling up through the UK to the southwest of Scotland, the Kintyre Peninsula, and we've done so far about 1,000 or 1,100 miles so far using Cygic. Now, if you're interested in a more complete review, then please let me know in the comments and I'll make one once I've had a chance to use them all more. Having said that, I've actually installed 4 different SatNav apps, and the main app we plan to use is the campervan and motorhome version of Cygic, which is what many of the SatNav head units actually come bundled with. Cygic appear to be one of those companies that have a very flexible pricing structure that seems to have permanent deals and discounts. I purchased an annual license for the caravan version with European maps, speed cameras and real-time traffic for £52 for the year. The main benefit of Cygic is that you can actually download the maps and then don't need an internet connection apart from for updates and traffic alerts. The caravan version also allows you to enter your vehicle size and weight, which is taken into account when calculating routes. Our second backup navigation system is Google Maps. This of course requires an internet connection, at least at the start of the trip, but it is also likely to be the most up-to-date mapping and include general location searching for businesses, etc. Something that would definitely have been useful in Sweden when trying to find a Toyota garage to look at the Land Cruiser's brakes. Our third navigation option is Waze, which requires an internet connection but is completely free to use. I have heard good things about Waze but haven't really used it in anger yet. The OS Maps is our fourth navigation option. This is primarily UK based and not really a driving app, but it does perform road-based routing and has the added benefit of being able to view your position in relation to OS Maps, showing footpaths and bridleways, etc. It also shows terrain lines, which could be useful if venturing into mountainous regions. Not to forget, of course, that the original TomTom SatNav system is still installed on the original head unit. One of the benefits of having a tablet mounted on the dashboard is the ability to install any of the thousands of apps that may be of use to you whilst on a trip. I spent some time laying out the home screen of the tablet so that it only included apps that would be useful whilst actually on the road. So starting at the top left, we have Microsoft To Do, which is a to-do list manager that runs on Windows, Android and iOS, enabling you to create to-do lists which appear on all of your devices. It has a widget that can be placed on the home screen to enable you to directly tick off items from the list. I've created standard lists for arrival and departure tasks, as well as packing lists to ensure that we don't forget anything. In the top right, we have a weather widget which shows the next 5 days weather, and below that a clock widget showing dual time zones for when we are abroad. Down the center there's an icon to open the camera app. I'm not sure this will give a great view, but it is a quick and easy way to capture steady footage or photos of something that happens on the road ahead. Next is a link to the GeoTracker app. This allows you to record your trip as a GPS track log so that you can then review it later. This is probably more of a YouTuber thing, but having a record of the exact route you took may be useful for other reasons. RadarBot is next. This is a speed camera app which we used in Sweden last year. Not, I should hasten to add, to avoid speed cameras, but because it has the ability to advise you of the current speed limit and warn you if you're exceeding it. We then have icons for Roadie RV, which is a map-based trip planning app that I've been trying out on our Scotland trip over the past week or so. The CL booking app is good for finding and booking caravan and motorhome club CL sites, since it shows availability. And last but not least, Park for Night to locate campsites and park up spots whilst we are on the road. The final thing to mention is the look and feel of the home screen. Now this is going to extremes in terms of configuration, but I purchased the Total Launcher app for Android, which allows very precise configuration of the home screen. Most importantly, it allowed me to use the whole screen and create larger icons to make the tablet easier to use when in the van. I created my own icons for each app just to give a more coherent feel to the screen instead of the usual jumble of colours and icons that you get on a tablet screen typically. And personally, well, I think it looks pretty cool. So after a few weeks, and more importantly about 900 miles of driving, what initial conclusions can I draw? Looking at cost first, you can see that this option is considerably cheaper than changing the head unit, and at least on par with most higher spec dedicated sat-navs. Bearing in mind that the tablet can be used for other tasks, and you may of course have one spare, it's definitely one of the best options from a value perspective. Next is the mounting option. Compared with the standard Ducato mount, if you have it, then personally I think this way looks a bit better with lower height and better cable management. It's proven to be secure even over some pretty rough roads. In terms of operation, I find it a bit difficult to kind of reach out and touch, but that's because I'm tall and I have my seat right back. Also, I'm certain I'd have the same issue with a large screen head unit. I am considering adapting the idea of mounting the tablet further over towards the driver's side. This would make it easier for me to reach, but also impossible for my wife to reach when in the passenger seat. I did make one mistake by using a 12-volt USB-C socket which had a power button, since the button defaulted to turning off every time we stopped the engine. The software has been okay-ish. Sygic certainly works, but has some odd quirks that I'd like to remove. For example, it insisted on giving me quite loud warning alerts for emergency telephones. I'll probably stick with Sygic since overall it worked and was showing things like campsites along the route, but if I can't get on with it, I do still of course have the choice to swap to one of those other apps. Having access to the other apps was really helpful. I'd preloaded Roadie RV with our pre-planned itinerary of sites, which meant that I could just basically select the next site and then hit navigate in Roadie RV, and that automatically opened up Sygic. Also, all of the arrival notes and bookings were available in Roadie to see, so again that worked quite well. The other minor issue with the tablet was that if turned off, a PIN number was then required to access it. Not a deal breaker, and possibly actually a good thing from a security perspective. Talking of which, whenever we left the vehicle, we did take the tablet off of the dash to make it less of a target for thieves. Overall, I'm really happy with how this has worked out. It meets all of my personal requirements and at a reasonable price, especially when compared to the initial plan. I am planning on making some reviews of the navigation apps, including Roadie, so subscribe and click the bell icon to make sure that you see those. Other than that, I hope you found this video helpful or at least interesting, and if you did, then please hit that like button. But most of all, thanks for watching.